Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Of course, the conversation continues about Tobago Thursdays. But before we get to that, one of the things that we've definitely realized is that we may have to up some move for the month of April, going maybe to the rest of the year.
All these events, why not? It might make sense. Coming to you live on Tobago Thursdays from Tobago.
Hey,
finally.
There we go. New Year 2025.
Speak it into being.
You never know. But I think it's so exciting to see everything that's happening, and it's great to see everybody coming together. I think that's something that really sticks out to me more than anything else. And of course, I love Buju.
So you're there.
I'm there.
You are there.
I'll go to church and then go right after.
You have a pirogue, a private vessel, something to get to Tobago on your own that quickly. But I do think that we also could take example from the fact that that collaboration and, as I said earlier, discussions should allow for a smoother transition into what will be a very hectic season. I hope that we see that across industries, across waters, so that we don't have those problems that we always know are going to arise. Everybody's going to up and move. Let's put things in place. Whether it be we really moving through it or we just go for the events. Hopefully, though, we will get some information and examples we could use with your next conversation as well, because it was definitely put into place last year, where the Tobago Civilnet made inroads within the community and a number of stakeholders involved in discussions so that we have exemplified what can be done and what can be improved on. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
I'm looking forward to it as well, especially as, they have this all-society approach, something I'm hoping they'll just delve into a little bit more. Because, as you said, this is going on since last year, if not more. And they've been working so hard. They've been having the conversations and bringing people together. One of the things that we see from Tobago Thursdays and from these different entities as well is the fact that community is key. And it's something that has not been lost. And I'm also hoping that I don't think we've fully lost in Trinidad, particularly community, but if we could continue to push that as well, it definitely would make such an incredible difference. So without further ado, we have with us the chairman of Tobago Civilnet, Rodney Piggott, and we also have Xavier Edwards, who is the public relations officer for Tobago Civilnet, and we're talking about the outcomes and a bit more of the Turning the Tide of Crime and Violence in Tobago, a public health approach series. Good morning, Mr. Piggott. Good morning, Mr. Edwards, and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Blessings to both of you. Thank you for joining us. And congratulations, because from what we have heard, this series definitely had some positive impact and some great highlights as well. But before we get into that, I would just like to get some clarity on the all-society approach. Can you summarize that for us, perhaps, Xavier?
All society approach to tackling crime involves engaging all the elements required to both have preventative methods implemented, as well as treating with crime as it evolves. So it starts with the family, the schools, the churches, the communities, as well as the police and the incarceration system. So that, so basically covering all bases from the curriculum aspect to the family unit, as well as to the incarceration system and evolving how that's dealt with.
Definitely something, of course, that is critical to these sort of conversations. Now, what we need to get into, of course, is the series as well. Before we get to perhaps the outcome, Mr. Piggott, can you tell us a little bit of some of the key highlights of the series?
All right. Some of the key highlights, and I must say that this series was a joy for us to produce. And what we have coming out of that series is some very good information from the four presenters. From Quincy Joseph, known as Tenors, this was an ex-federal convict who's now the leader and founder of No Youth Left Behind. He pointed out very succinctly that we need to stop telling the youth that crime doesn't pay. They're not buying that, because they see that it does pay. They see what their friends have on, the gold, the shoes, the gear, the cars. So you can't tell them it doesn't pay. What he suggests instead is that we tell them the truth, that while crime pays, there is a tax. There's a tax. And that tax usually takes everything you have made and then some. It could take your life. It could take the lives of your loved ones. And it could take everything that you literally earn, the cars, the houses, everything could go. And this is what the tax does. So while crime pays, there is a tax to pay that the taxman will come for sooner or later. And that's what he faced as an ex-convict when he was getting paid by crime. He spent 11 years in federal lockup, 11 years of his life, 11 years that he couldn't see his child grow up, 11 years that he could not see his loved ones. That's a heavy tax, right? And then we went to David Mohammed, who brought out to us that society itself is very relevant to solving the issue of crime. It's not just for the police to do. It's not just a law enforcement job. As Xavier just pointed out about all of society has to get involved in order for crime to be not just suppressed, where it goes underground and wait for a state of emergency to pass to come back up, but actually to eradicate crime itself must take all of society. And then we went to Miss Camille Swap. Camille was very passionate. She is a psychologist for adolescents, children, and she pointed out that the manner in which we educate our children must change. We cannot sort them by ability because the brain of children are still growing. And so how we treat with the child while their brain is growing could result in damage to their social skills, damage to their interpersonal skills, right? And so when we force them to take tests and teach the tests and things of that nature, that can be damaging. You have to sort the children based on their level of growth, right? So don't force them into school too early, and don't force them out of school too early. You understand? So there has to be a level of treating with the child in a joyful learning manner. And then all of that was wrapped up by Dr. Ulrich Johnson, who brought a public health approach and pulled all of those pieces together, pointing out to us, again, that it must take all of society to be involved. We must be able to analyze the risk factors. We must go down to the root of crime. So while we say crime is a disease, we must go down and find how that disease got into your society, where it came from. It's not just enough to get the guns off the street, but how the guns got there in the first place. And don't just stop at the mule that brought them through the airport or the mule that you caught. That mule is a fool. The person that you catch with the guns, that's the fool. That's the person that's put there that if they get caught, they must keep their mouth shut, and you never find out who actually financed that mule to bring those guns in. So sorting out where the guns are coming from must go all the way down to the root, and that's Mr. Big, and we're not seeing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. So, well, thank you for sharing those recommendations with us, Mr. Piggott. Of course, it was something we definitely were interested in, given the fact that we know that this has been carded as a success. Definitely seeing all of the different speakers and also stakeholders who came out. I know you had a great turnout. But one of the things that we really need to focus on as well, and Xavier, hopefully you can also contribute to this, is we hear the recommendations, but how do we get stakeholders to actually do their part as well? Xavier, we'll start with you and then Mr. Piggott.
Well, one of the key things that came out of the discussion, especially with Dr. Ulrich Johnson, when we were having the final conversation with him, was that it must be led by the youth. And the way in which that happens is when people realize how much it affects them. But using the public health approach and the all of society approaches to understanding crime is one of the ways in which the regular citizen, the average citizen who hasn't been directly affected yet, comes to recognize how much it damages them. Conversations like Tenors highlighting, while crime does pay, the actual tax that comes with brings to the attention of someone who might not otherwise notice it. A youth might not otherwise notice or pay attention to what is the direct cost to me. So the way in which you help really bring that to the fore is through media channels like yours, highlighting the challenges through everyone in their individual life stating how much, even though it hasn't affected you directly, it is affecting the community. And soon enough, it will come to visit each and every one of us. And remembering how much of an environment, curating an environment that fosters criminal activity puts you and your whole family at risk, even though it hasn't come knocking yet. So that is the way in which I think we could help each other to see how important it is for us to approach dealing with crime, and especially violent crimes, which is plaguing the country right now, from a perspective that gives credibility to the things that we're talking about, which is that, it can affect every single one of us.
It definitely
one of the
can.
key things
apologies.
One of the key things that Tenor said, which I really want to highlight as well, he said, what is your constitution? What is the framework by which you look at life and live from? And your constitution is something that is designed. Now, if it is not designed by you, then it is simply designed by the content you have put in. But it is something that guides the way you live your life. So there needs to be an intentional effort by all of us, from the education system, in the media, in arts and entertainment, in politics, in schools, to give people the tools to build a constitution that even when no one is looking, your own moral compass makes you see like, nah, that might be too expensive of a act for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Xavier. Mr. Piggott, what is the way forward post such a successful series?
Right. Very good question, and thanks for that. So the way forward now is we have taken the rapporteur report, and we want to say thanks to our rapporteurs, which was actually Kai, John, and Michelle Noel. They did the rapporteuring for us. They attended the sessions and pulled the notes together. We also want to say thanks to all the interviewers, by the way, Cassell Campbell, Chanel Felix, Xavier Edwards. We already mentioned our presenters. We want to say thanks to the graphic designer for the flyers, Forbes Design. And we cannot leave without saying thanks to our event coordinator, Ms. Latoya Johnson of LRTS Media and Business Solutions, and our lead event planner, Ms. Karen Bag Alexander. So our way forward now is to take these reports, take the videos that we have collected in our video library on our Facebook page, and we want to now chop them up into clips. And throughout the year, we will saturate the public with these clips. We've already identified the stakeholders that we want to target for one-on-one conversation coming out of this series, and to see how we can help, because that's all we can do is help, right? We're not law enforcement. We're not the government. We don't have the budgets that they do. So all we could do, as I stated, is we can lead the horse to the water. We can even bring the water to the horse, but we cannot make the horse drink, right? So we can only do our part, and others now, the stakeholders, have to care. They have to care enough to go beyond the party politics that is literally hampering the success of organizations like Civilnet from doing what it is mandated to do, which is to help to heal and build the social infrastructure. All right? The governments cannot build social infrastructure. That is for the people to do. And organizations like NGOs, that's their responsibility, is to knit the people together at the grassroots level. Party politics separate the people into parties, and we must bring the people back together. So organizations like Civilnet is not very popular with party politics, because we are telling people, look across party lines and see yourself as Tobagonians, see yourself as Trinidadians, see yourself as Trinidad and Tobagonians, right? Not just parties and so forth. So our way forward is to reach these stakeholders and build with them a way in which the information that we gathered from these four dynamic presenters can be utilized for the betterment of the society.
Well, Mr. Piggott and Mr. Edwards, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure, and thank you, of course, for your service to the community as well. I know we'll be checking in with you and looking forward to seeing you continue to rise and make changes in communities for 2025. Have a great day.
And let me also say thanks to TTT for their, they were just really on the ball in helping to get the message out. Thank you, TTT.
It's our pleasure. Have an excellent day, both of you. Tobago Civilnet here on the Now Morning Show, sharing an update of their 4-part series that definitely has made an impact. Stay tuned, because more impactful conversations are coming up right after the break.
This goal would help you unwind your muscle, your daily strain and your razzle dazzle. Put your hand on your partner's shoulder, walk up your waist as you come together. It's got so regular in our soul. Let yourself on the road when